Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the science behind one of the most popular drinks on the planet, green tea. We're going to look at what makes it so special and what the actual evidence says about all those health claims.
For centuries, people have sworn by its health benefits. But is that just ancient wisdom, or does modern science back it up? All right, let's get into it and separate the real science from the hype.
So, to really understand what green tea can do for you, we first have to look at what's actually in the leaf. And the secret to its power? Well, it all starts with how it's made. Now, this is absolutely crucial. See, while other teas are allowed to oxidize, green tea leaves get heated right away. This non-fermented process is kind of like hitting a pause button. It locks in all these amazing compounds that would normally get lost. And the most important of these compounds are called catechins. You can basically think of them as the tea's secret weapon. They are incredibly powerful antioxidants. They're like little bodyguards for your cells, protecting them from damage and stress. But here's where it gets really interesting. Not all catechins are the same. There's one in particular, epigallocatine gallate. Let's just call it EGCG. That is the undisputed superstar. It makes up almost 60% of the total, and it's the single molecule that most of the amazing research really focuses on. But ECGC isn't a solo act. Green tea also has this really cool amino acid called L-theanine, and that's what gives you that unique feeling of being totally alert and focused, but calm, without the jitters you get from coffee. It's this amazing partnership between the power of ECGC and the calm of L-theanine that really makes green tea stand out. Okay, so we know green tea is packed with these powerful compounds, but what does that actually mean for our health? Well, let's start with the two areas where the scientific proof is the strongest, our hearts and our brains. So check this out. When scientists pull together the results from dozens of top-notch clinical trials in what's called a meta-analysis, a really clear pattern shows up. Drinking green tea regularly is linked to small, but definitely significant, improvements in some major risk factors for heart disease. Let's take blood pressure. Now, a drop of almost 2 points might not sound like a lot, but for a whole population, that's actually a pretty big deal. It's not going to replace medication, of course, but it absolutely shows a real positive effect. And we see the exact same kind of story with cholesterol. A drop of nearly 6 points in your LDL, the bad cholesterol, that's another really solid piece of evidence that helps explain green tea's reputation for being heart healthy. And the good news doesn't stop with the heart. It actually extends all the way up to our most complicated organ, the brain. There have been a ton of huge studies looking at how drinking tea over a long time affects brain health. And the results are, honestly, pretty amazing. Across several of these massive studies, people who drank green tea regularly had somewhere between a 33 and 47% lower risk of developing cognitive problems later in life. That suggests it has this powerful protective effect over the years. But what about the really big one, cancer? This is where you see a lot of confusing headlines and where the science gets a lot more complicated. We have to be really careful here and separate two very different ideas. So this is the key. There's a huge difference between preventing cancer from showing up in the first place and reducing the risk of it coming back for someone who's already had it. When it comes to preventing a first diagnosis, the evidence is, well, it's pretty weak and inconsistent. But for preventing a recurrence, that's a whole different story. For breast cancer survivors, for instance, a major analysis found that women who drank a lot of green tea had a 19% lower risk of the cancer returning. This is a really promising sign that green tea could play a supportive role for some patients. All right, let's get to the claim that probably gets the most attention these days. Can drinking green tea actually help you lose weight? First, let's look at the theory of how it's supposed to work, and then we'll see what the actual studies say. So on paper, the idea totally makes sense. The EGCG in green tea blocks an enzyme, which lets a fat-burning hormone called norepinephrine stick around longer. More of that hormone means more signals telling your body to burn fat for energy. It seems like a perfect chain reaction. But, and this is a big but, when we look at what happens in actual human trials, things get fuzzy. This quote from the Cochrane Review, which is a super respected source, says it all. The results are just unclear. Some studies show a tiny bit of weight loss, but a lot of others show nothing at all. The real-world effect just doesn't seem to be very strong or reliable. Okay, so we've looked at the heart, the brain, cancer, weight loss. After sorting through all that research, what's the final verdict? What's the one thing you should remember from all of this? I think the easiest way to think about it is like a pyramid of evidence. Right at the top, with the strongest, most solid scientific proof, you've got the benefits for your heart and your brain. Just below that, there's promising evidence for helping reduce cancer recurrence. And then way down at the bottom, where the evidence is the shakiest, you find the claims about preventing cancer in the first place and, of course, weight loss.
So, is green tea a miracle cure? Science says nope. But is it a simple, enjoyable, and genuinely healthy addition to your life? All the evidence points to a big yes. It's not a magic bullet, but the science is clear that it's great for the long-term health of your heart and your brain.